I just woke up, so this is what I look like. See, my necklace is on backwards. I had this thought, so after I meditate, I get this urge to document and solidify and celebrate what I've realized. And I believe this is an important step along the way, always to celebrate how far I've come. But I wanted to talk about unity. Unity is about becoming whole. Unity is about becoming whole within ourselves. So, however we feel, whatever it is, once we allow ourselves to feel it, we move through it. Human beings have been programmed in different ways. Different ones have been downloaded with different, ways to think about certain things, right? So, if you're feeling something that's not acceptable to feel or was programmed into you as unacceptable to feel, like, say, anger or resentment, right? Say you're feeling these things. Like, I think some people may feel resentment that others aren't wearing masks, or feel angry about someone who's a pedophile. Okay, so all of these things that we feel, whatever they may be, are not wrong. And if we allow ourselves to feel them and love the part of ourself that feels it, it makes it okay. It says, I bring this part of me into my heart. And once I have loved this part of me and accepted this part of me and understood this part of me, it's integrated as wisdom, and it's no longer this thing that's kind of running a loop in my mind and in my experience, and I'm always seeing it everywhere, and I'm always like annoyed by it. I'm always being reactivated in that feeling. The actual being activated in a feeling is so that your human mind notices the pattern, sees it, this is part of our immune system, and integrates it back into us. It's trying to get our attention because we've disowned that part. That part needs our love. We are fragmented in those moments that we have these looping feelings that we haven't let ourselves fully feel. Sometimes we just didn't let ourselves feel it because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to feel angry and rage and dislike and disrespect for other humans, because that is not who we really are. And anytime we are living in such a way that it's not who we really are, we become weakened. That's why our society is becoming weak, is becoming sick, is because we have not been allowed to feel what we feel. We've not made it okay to be who we are, which encompasses all the feelings, all of them. None of them are wrong. Some of them we choose not to act in because we know that that would perpetuate harm, because in our hearts we are love. The second coming of Christ is Christ into our hearts. Each of us, everyone has that opportunity. And one thing that I use as a guide to help me do this, because it's not perfect, you're going to forget. You're going to go fall asleep to a pattern and play it out again. Maybe a few more times before you notice it's a pattern. Who knows? Whenever it happens for you to notice the pattern, that's the time that it was supposed to happen. It's not wrong while you're doing it. I'm not trying to say we're all wrong, because this is human nature. This is how we function. I'm just simply sharing a piece of information that I have learned will unify our own energy bodies. And something that alerts me to the fact that I need to unify something within my energy body is when I feel the need to justify what I'm thinking or feeling. If somebody comes along and tells me that what I'm doing is wrong, now, if I'm a whole united being within myself, then I see that person putting a projection on me. And I go, oh, that's their stuff. They're not willing to feel that, so they're looking for a placeholder for it. Okay? But if this person comes along and tells me that I'm wrong, and I still have some fragments, right? It gets in, and then I start going, wait, no, no. And I start justifying what I'm thinking and feeling. to fight that off. Okay? This is a clue for me. Anytime that I'm trying to justify, tells me that I have something to love about myself, that my reflection, the reflection being shown to me, is indicating to me an opportunity to become more whole in the moment that I take notice of that feeling and allow myself to feel it. So if I'm wrong, and I've grown up in a society or in a home where punishment and reward parenting has been utilized. This is the most common parenting after corporal punishment. We came to punishment and reward parenting. We're just evolving, so none of it's wrong. We're going in the right direction because we're not hitting our kids anymore. That's great. I do notice there are still people who had been spanked, right? And they are ones who will see a meme about not hitting your kids or try to justify in their minds that the degradation of our society is due to kids not being spanked. So, they are justifying an abuse, which is actually not really needing to be justified. It just needs to be loved in them. Once they love the part of themselves that was deemed so terrible that it needed to be hit instead of loved, that is a reparenting of the self, and that is a becoming whole, that is becoming unified, and that's grabbing the fragment of self that is still looping the pain of being spanked by a caregiver, the one you depend on for your life and survival and love. It's a very traumatizing moment when a child is hit. And the degradation of our society is actually in the fact that we have deemed a bunch of our normal human emotion and feeling as unacceptable to feel. And also we have been told lies and fed an illusion that there's not enough. So when there's not enough, we start competing. When there's not enough, it makes sense to believe survival of the fittest, But that's not true. You don't have to be the fittest to survive. You just can't be the weakest. So you don't have to be at the top, there's no reason. We are puzzle pieces. It's a puzzle. There's no piece in the puzzle that gets to be more important than the last piece. Than the whole than the whole picture. That gets to be more important in the whole picture. Maybe the last piece feels really special and important and a reason to celebrate. Great. It doesn't take away from the whole picture because every other piece would not matter. The last piece would not matter without every other piece. Boy, my mind talked me in circles there. So hopefully you didn't lose the concept and idea of what I'm trying to share, which is really, just one perspective that I happen to use that works to unify and integrate within me. And as we all do that, we stop pointing our fingers at the other. We stop trying to put our pain on the other because we realize how good we feel when we take responsibility for it within ourselves. When we go, oh, I'm the one who's feeling resentful. I may feel very justified in feeling resentful, Seems very justified to hate on a pedophile, right? It's but that's hate that you're carrying around in your energy body. You really have to love the part of yourself that feels that hate. Really be with it. Really understand why. Really understand that maybe comes from fear and anger and powerlessness. And those are all very real feelings that may need to be experienced so that you can go through them and see that on the other side, you're still a human being and you're still okay. Now, actually, what's happening when you heal your anger, resentment, and rage towards a pedophile, what you see is that actually a pedophile is someone who is also abused. They're passing along the pattern, just like the person who is raging and using them as an excuse for rage. This pedophile has chosen to put their pain on another child instead of being able to deal with it themselves. Why wouldn't they be able to deal with it themselves? it's a hard thing to do when society has deemed you such an immoral piece of shit. You know, if there's no room for this person who's been abused by another pedophile, if there's no room for this person to be welcomed and loved into a society, and if everyone around them is saying that they're not lovable anymore, how are they going to integrate that piece and love themselves and overcome and heal that urge to not feel the pain? They're not going to want to sit in that pain, because that pain would basically kill them off, because once you're isolated from your tribe or your whole society, you risk death. That's a primal instinct. So these are just some thoughts and different perspectives to help explain what I'm trying to share, which is freedom. It's a doorway to freedom. It's a integrating all of the unloved parts of ourselves, which is all the parts that we feel justified and feel like fighting for feeling, it's a way to feel whole within ourselves, and it's also a way to become unified with the other, because we cannot have compassion for the other until we have it for ourselves. So all we see here, all of the chaos, all of the finger pointing, all of the anger and rage and shaming and blaming, is just people showing you how they've been treated. That's it. We're passing along patterns that have been done to us. And right now, everybody is being asked, or given an opportunity, I should say, because we do have free will, this is up to each of us, but we are being given an opportunity to unify, love those parts of ourselves instead of passing it along. Break the chain, break the pattern, raise our standards to live another way, a loving way, a beautiful way. That's not going to be happening anymore once we do this. Like that stuff, like pedophilia and all of these things, those aren't going to happen anymore once we unify. We need to actually be strong enough to break the pattern first. All this is patterns. Oh, I see my doll is being exposed here. In case you think it's weird that I have a doll in my bed. Why not? No, I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, it is because I want to remember every morning that I'm loving the child part of me. Because it's the child part of me that got fragmented, right? It's the child part of me that I've thrown pieces out there and said, that's not me. That wasn't acceptable. That got me in trouble. I'm not going to accept that as part of me anymore. And now I've put it in my energy, and I'm now seeing life through the lens of seeing that thing out there. Not in here. That's not me. And as soon as I get brave enough to go, oh, gosh, that was a little child part of me who felt that. That was a real feeling I had. Let's be together. Let's let you feel that. Let's make it be okay. Your parent might not have known it was okay for you to feel that because they were trying to get you ready to survive in their environment. But we're breaking patterns, and we have conscious awareness of that. So it's okay now. Now I'm prepared to love you through that feeling of anger, rage, fit, resentment, whatever I was feeling at the time that was deemed unacceptable. Now it is acceptable. And so this doll is just reminding me to pay attention to that inner part of me, because that inner part of me, those fragmented parts of me, went ignored for most of my life. It is now that a lot of these fragments are ready to be integrated. So it's not wrong that that was happening when it was happening. At the time that I become aware and I'm ready to integrate, that's the perfect time for it to happen. You know, I'm not judging anybody who still wants to live that old way. But I'm suggesting that this is an opportunity because Earth is upgrading. Earth has raised her standards. And so we are being asked to get on board with that. You know, it's going to get pretty rough if the more we don't do that. You know, the way to balance this out is to become balanced within ourselves, to become unified within ourselves, because then the filter that we saw life through, that held that energy in our field and causing a distortion in our view, that's all we'll see. that is what will keep happening. And that is essentially a prison. But once we clear that filter, now we can see with our hearts the other person and what they're going through. Now we have a chance of actually being an example to them of how they can become unified too, by loving the part of themselves that's in pain. Okay. You can see my Gemini, my words want to fly out of my face before I've even formulated a sentence that is coherent. So that is definitely something I'm going to need to work on if I wish to pursue any level of intelligent communication. So I'm going to love the part of me, the child part of me, because this is a pattern, that was ridiculed for messing up her words, that didn't have the right word, that thought, oh, I always come up with the right word later. Oh, I can't say it right. Oh, I can't express myself. Oh, it's dangerous to express myself. Oh, someone's going to pick on me about this. Oh, that's so scary that someone might disagree with me. I'm going to love all the parts of me that feel all those ways and make it okay to feel that way. I understand why she feels that way. Sometimes it'll bring it back to a memory. It makes sense, because here I was coming in as this being who was open to the spiritual side, and I was getting these downloads and informations, and if I would say them, people didn't like what I was saying. They did not like what I was saying because it didn't go along with what they believed, and that seemed scary to them. Yeah, it's as if a new way has had to be pioneered through, and so there's trauma that comes with that when we're basically having to work through people who don't believe what you believe. It's a new way being birthed on Earth. It's not going to look normal. It's not going to be familiar. You know, it's an opportunity to go towards the unknown, to create something new, to expect more, to know that there's enough, you know. Our logical, technological minds can understand that there's no lack here, okay? The Earth's resources are abundant. It's a mismanagement that is putting us in detriment. We need to be more respectful of the resources here on Earth, and that's food, water. You know, food and water are available in abundance. It's just that we've mismanaged. We've let companies industrialize water. It's water. It's a right to every mammal on Earth to drink from her blood, her water. We need this to survive. And actually, I don't even know if we actually do need this to survive, because I've learned and have been practicing with the concept of taking what my body needs from the light, from the source. And I've done some amazing experiments so far, and I will maybe share about those another time. But I highly suggest experimenting. But eat food while you need food, and drink water while you need water. And say food, we can grow food on the sides of buildings. We can grow food on the tops of buildings. So even the cities don't have to be in lack. You know, there are solutions. There are solutions. There are solutions. There are solutions, and we forget that when we're stuck in patterns of fear, and our minds get busy justifying what we think. So I think the people who will have the most difficulty with this transition are the people who know things. If you know things, if you know this is the way it is, it's going to, nurses and things like that, with their beliefs about how health works and doctors, some of them, their hearts are in the right place. But if they're very rigid in their thinking of how things are, that may have been true for the Earth we were on. Earth has transitioned, and we're being asked to upgrade and open up. So if you don't know anything, if you're a child here on Earth, great. Flourish, you will. And you can lead us into the new way, because these children are still in tune with spirit. They have their intuition intact. They have, the only danger we have is imposing our old view upon them, which is limiting and based in lack. So that would be something that they'd have to be deprogrammed from in order to live freely on the new earth that we are all creating, and we can't stop it. It's already done. It's here. Now it's a time to adjust. The only place where that 3D lack way of living is existing is in our own energy fields. Only the people who still have the filters on their view are living that out. And so you can be living that out and being in chaos, or you can be observing the chaos and understanding what it's about. And any time you get poked in yourself or activated in a way to feel, allow yourself to feel it. Observe that's, if you're in this observer's perspective, you're going to see something that comes and activates you, and you're going to be able to be in the mindset to love that little fragment part of you. You know, speak to it like it's a child, because it's a child part of you that had been wanting your attention, and now it's finally come back to you, and now it's your opportunity to love it. If you have been trained to think it's not okay to feel that way, you are going to deflect it and project it onto someone else and see that in them. They're the crazy one, they're the jerk, they're the disrespectful one. I feel very justified in shaming that person for not wearing a mask because I feel scared that I haven't taken care of what I need to take care of in my health. So I'm at risk, and I care about my health, and I care about spreading this to everybody. And it's like, well, all of those justifications are assuming that that person doesn't feel that way too. Maybe they do. Maybe they know something you don't know. Maybe they cleared the filter of fear that you're speaking through when you say all those things to yourself. You know, you can tell if you examine each of those statements there about fear. I fear for my health. I fear for my family. I fear. Okay? Fear weakens you. Maybe if that person's not in fear, maybe their immune system is very strong. And maybe from the view that they have, maybe they understand that staying in fear is a prison. So yes, you may be more apt to get sick because you are in fear, but you're also in prison. So you can't ask that person to go step into prison with you. Why would they? Why don't you instead face your fear and get out of prison? You know, these are the options. Like that person is already free. They're never ever going to step back into imprisonment with you. No matter how much you project and shame and blame and feel justified to tell them they're wrong, it won't happen. You know, even logically, even from the information that's been presented, if it's our elderly who are at risk, and they may be very well be at risk for this particular issue, we can serve them. We can bring the groceries to them. They don't have to leave the house. We can keep them safe. You know, we can do what we have to do to respect and honor that their health matters, and we can help them build their immunity by knowing that they can do it. You know, if we are now faced with survival or quality of life, I just have to question, what is the point of surviving if you have no quality of life? Do you want to survive to live in a prison? You know, is life that precious that it should just all be lived as robots in prisons just so it can stay alive? Like, we're actually a spirit having an experience in a human body. This is our vessel. This is like our spaceship. This is how we're navigating Earth. It's a body that can experience pleasure and pain. But that's the point of it. It's not here to just survive. It's here to have experiences. Quality of life matters big. Quality of life matters big, and it's very easy to not notice when everything's kind of being taken from you slowly. When you're already in fear, and you just get this it's like when you start doing studies about narcissistic abuse dynamics, there's this analogy used about a frog in a pot of water, you know, that's on the stove. And it's like, as the water heats up, the frog is so comfortable, it's warm, it feels like the tadpole, you know, I mean, it feels like the egg, it's like comforting, and you know. And it's like by the time the water boils, it's too late. The frog is now consumed by the boiling water, and what he thought was a great ride has now just killed him. So I feel like it's kind of the same thing when it comes to our rights being taken away, our quality of life being reduced. It's like they're taking slow, incremental steps. This is human nature when you're in this lack mentality and when you think you have to control others because you want to take all their power. That's the narcissistic abuse dynamic, and that is an example of what is happening on this larger scale, where people are being indoctrined into this different way of living, which done on this low level, whatever, coercion really, by presenting an agenda. There's manipulations in information. We can see it clearly. What would be so wrong with presenting someone with two sides of an argument and letting them decide for themselves? Like, we're gonna act like we're the parent that knows better? Guess what? That's punishment and reward parenting, and that is what got us where we are. We need to let people learn from their consequences. We really do. And the consequence of loving ourselves no matter what we feel is that we become free. And then when we're free, our quality of life improves greatly. We start to see that there's no lack, there's enough, it was all an illusion, and we don't have to live there anymore, So, alright, just some thoughts on unity, coming together, being who we really are, and wherever we are at is perfect for us. I should ground a little. Probably my words are getting extra jumbled this morning because grounding. I do have to make extra efforts to stay grounded to the earth because I am definitely more comfortable in the spiritual realms, and I'm just trying to bring myself onto earth and apply these concepts in practical ways, and I haven't always been good at it, and so maybe it's not my job. But I can't stop, I can't stop sharing who I am, and who I am is someone who cares about people's freedom, because I care about my freedom. I want my freedom, I want your freedom, I want my quality of life, I want your quality of life. I have been a person who woke up from a situation where I thought everything was fine, only to realize that I had just basically almost given my life up to a dynamic that I don't even need to be in. I was just trained and indoctrinated into it by what I believed as a child, and what I believed was not acceptable to feel as a child put me in a weakened state. So we all have to be willing to look at our weaknesses and our strengths. Know your weaknesses and strengths is one of the greatest pieces of advice I got from a spiritual teacher along the way. Because I was like, oh yeah, I can own my weaknesses. Communicating. Yeah, I have room for improvement. Well, thank God, because I don't want to be bored here, and I want to always have something to learn and grow through. None of this is wrong. Okay. Yeah, I should shut up now.